Good morning and welcome to the Virginia SBDC's Google to Great webinar series. This webinar series is designed to give you an overview of how to actually use the powerful tools that Google's created and some practical tips from a small business perspective. Each webinar focuses on one Google product. If you missed any of our other webinars, you can find the recorded versions of the webinar on the Virginia SBDC website under online training. All of our webinars will be presented by Ray Sidney Smith, a self-proclaimed Googleologist and president of W3 Consulting, a digital business strategy firm that provides training on how to use various web-based technologies to small businesses. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type those into the chat window and Ray will do his best to answer them. Without further ado, here's Ray Sidney Smith.
Thank you, Tracy, and thanks to the Virginia SBDC Network for having us and hosting these Google to Great webinars. Today's webinar is Google Plus, your small business, Google Plus, your small business, and it's all about Google Plus, which is Google's newest social networking and identity service. And this was launched in June of 2011. And I'm just going to go over a little bit of history about the product and where Google has sort of gone, and then we'll get into just playing around with the various features that are within Google+, and then I'll transfer over to the Google+ page where your business will actually interact with your potential customers and your customers so you can see what's going on over there and then some of the behind-the-scenes items. So just first and foremost, as Tracy said, if you have questions here live during the webinar, feel free to go ahead and ask those questions using the GoToWebinar panel. Of course, if you have questions afterward, you can feel free to contact me through the last slide. I have my contact information, or you can go ahead and send information by Twitter at W3 Consulting and hashtag that Google to Great. So this is the Google Plus business logo, okay? And so just so you know, you'll hear people say Google Plus. They will write it out, Google with a plus sign next to it, literally as one word, Google Plus. You'll also see people go ahead and write it out as Google Plus as a second word, P-L-U-S, okay? So you'll see people write it out as G+, capital G with a plus sign, as an abbreviation to Google+. You'll see Google Plus written out. So why all of the stir about just another social networking service? And why are people somewhat afraid of Google Plus versus, joining Google Plus or getting involved in it and all of those things? I'm going to try and answer those questions for you this morning in just a few short words. The few short words are that Google owns the web in almost the most basic nature. When you think about it, where do you go when you go to search for something? People use Google as a verb now. They've basically transformed Google from a company. Well, Google transformed a word, Google, G-O-O-G-O-L, which is a mathematical number. They've turned that into a brand that is recognizable globally. And then they've turned now the very premise of search into the word and the verb Google. That's very powerful when you think about it. But people say, well, Google tried social networking before. They went with Orkut and they had Google Buzz, which is built into Gmail, and all of these initiatives seem to have failed. And my argument today is that Google doesn't just fail. They fail with grace. What Google does is they go out there and they fail in little ways so that they can learn more and better ways to serve their populations. If anyone has ever heard me speak here on the live presentation or on the recorded version, you know how much I believe that Google really doesn't do anything better than search. And Google also understands that their primary income comes from advertising. It comes from search advertising, search display advertising. 75% of their income comes from search display advertising. The bulk of the rest of their income comes from actually the money they make from licensing their technology to other people who use the Google search algorithm in their own private and public realms. So with that in mind, Google's interest is, of course, in serving its population with relevant responses, which means they need to understand you, the consumer, as best as possible. So what does that mean from the small business perspective, you as a small business owner? That means that Google's in your camp, because the best content that you can publish out there equates to the content that people are searching for when they need a product or service. And you can pair those two together only by understanding both better. So Google gives all of these products to you for free because they want to make sure that people are using them so they can understand better and then provide better search results when someone types in 2 or 3 words into Google searches all over the world. So Google+, we have currently about 250 million registered users. And I'm going to hop out of this and I'm going to go over to Google+ right now. But just here goes some thoughts about it. We have 250 million registered users on Google+ today, comparative to 800 million users on Facebook.com. Facebook.com has been around for many years. Google+ has been around for just about a year. And we project that by the end of this year, Google+ will have 400 million users. That means they're acquiring just about 625,000 new users a day. With that type of growth, if Facebook had ever grown at 625,000 users per day in their initial days, I would tell you Google+ was a waste of your time, that Google wasn't going to win. But the fact that Google+ is gaining new members at astonishing rates, comparative to any other social network out there, somewhat proves its mettle that Google has gotten something right about this. And the way that they've gotten it right is actually through the process of incorporating more and more of its services into Google+ as we move along, and I'll talk about that when I go sort of feature by feature through this. Google+ is a behemoth of a product, and so I want to really get through a lot of these items with you this morning. So in order to get to Google+, we go ahead and go to plus.google.com, and so that's P-L-U-S, Paul, Larry, Umbrella, Sam.google.com. That goes ahead and takes us to this page, and you can see that they're going ahead and introducing us to Google+ events, and I'll talk about that in a little while. So here we are at the home screen of Google+, and you pretty much navigate the page by the top navigation here. You can see this black bar, which if you've seen any of the other webinars, this is pretty prominent across all of the Google products now, where you can basically browse and connect with any of the other products that Google has to offer. And then, of course, along the left-hand side panel, we have another navigation pane that takes us to more of Google's areas within the actual Google+ product. So just to give an overview of what you really want to be doing with regard to Google+, is that first and foremost, you want to take advantage of Google's #1 area of specialty. Okay, so #1 is search. So as it relates to your small business, you want to make sure that you're searching with focus. Make sure that as a small business you're using this first initial field. There's a reason Google puts it right at the top of Google+ and probably at the top of most of its other products. But use search with focus, and that means looking for people and people and topics that are really pertinent and important to your business. Okay, so look for those people within the system. If you're not looking for them, you're never going to find them, and then you're going to continue to tell everybody that, well, I don't get anything out of Google+ because you don't give anything into it. I feel rather the same about Facebook or any other social network. Again, you build your community wherever your community needs to grow. So if your people are on Facebook, be on Facebook, but don't expect Facebook to last forever. You know, again, remember the days of AOL and Prodigy and CompuServe. Remember the days of MySpace and Friendster. They will eventually fade. You know, Facebook will eventually fade away and not be, you know, sort of the cool kid in town or the cool kid in class for the long haul. It has to subside over time, and very much so. Google is in the market to become the next big thing, to take over for the next couple of years. In and as Facebook starts to decline in numbers. So here we are. #1 is search with focus. So for example, if I'm, you know, without even talking about creating a Google+ account or anything like that, I'm gonna just jump right in here with the 4 particular items, and then we'll go back to some of the more basic elements to the system. But you want to search with focus. So if I wanted to learn more about cars, I would go ahead and maybe I want to talk about Maserati. So I go ahead in here, and you can see that if I just type in a search, very similar to Google.com, it gives me some options within the system. So just as an overview, I can go ahead and click on any of these particular pages that exist. And if you can see right below this, there's a little gray icon. That's the icon for a Google Plus page. So that's a brand page. That means there's a person or a brand or company or business that has a page out there with this particular keyword term associated with it. So you can see that there's several Maserati dealerships out there that are doing that. Below that are people named Maserati within the name of their profile. And then if I hit enter right now, it'll show me pretty much any post recently that had the word Maserati included within it. Okay, so I can search based on topics very similar to it. So I recommend to you that you go out there and search Google Plus for the keywords that are associated with your business. Again, if your business website is geared toward your small business as it should be, then you should know the keyword terms that people are searching to find your small business, and you should be focusing on becoming the dominant player for that keyword string with your location associated with it. So I usually use the case of a dentist. If I show up in town and I type into Google Plus or Google.com dentist in Lorton, Virginia, I want Google to search for a dentist in Lorton, Virginia, right? And so it should geolocate me if I don't type in Lorton, and that means it'll identify where I am, and it should render a result for dentists in that particular area. Well, the same thing happens here, and the same thing happens with your small business. You want to make sure that when you go ahead and type in a search string, that for the areas you cover, that 5-mile radius around your business, you want to make sure that when someone types in, dentist or doctor, lawyer, your retail gift boutique, whatever it might be, that you show up in those search terms. Same thing here on Google+. So go ahead and search with focus. Second is engage regularly. Once you've searched and you found people and topics that are having conversations about your business and about your industry or about your products or service, engage with those people and have conversations with them. Now there's a duality here. There's a sort of a catch. Once you create the brand page, which we'll get to in about 10 minutes, you want to go ahead and understand that you cannot engage with people until they've what is called circled you. And that means they've followed you, sort of like Facebook friend requesting. But once they've followed you as a brand, you can communicate with them. Until that happens, you cannot comment on their posts and so on and so forth. You've got to do that from your own personal profile page. So you may not want to do those things. Is that limiting? Yes. Is it for the better? Absolutely, and I'll explain to you why. No one wants to be spammed in their Facebook personal profile. Actually, in any social network. Think about it. If I was sitting in my living room and a door-to-door salesman came up to the house and knocked on the front door, rang the doorbell, and I answered the door and said, "Oh, I'm not interested. If he's selling magazines, I'm not interested." And he just barged himself in, and then just started laying out his product on the coffee table, and just continued talking. But wouldn't you get irritated? Wouldn't you really feel like, "Hey, buddy, whoa, wait, what?"
Okay. Everyone, I'm going to try and get in touch with Ray. I don't think he's realized that we've lost Oda. One moment. Ray, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but we have lost your audio. Yep, there we go again.
Are we here?
We're back, Ray.
Okay. So I apologize about that. I'm not sure what happened. So here we are, in a mindset with, in a social network, which is where we're sharing particular interests, and Facebook has somewhat turned its back on the user by saying to them, here I am, I'm talking to my friends and family. In my case, I'm sharing photos and pictures of my friends and family. I have a young niece and nephew. I see pictures of them, and I'm excited to see, them growing up. And all of a sudden, I'm bombarded with other, non-related business and consumer brands pushing messaging to me that I didn't ask for. Okay, and it's rather it's rather disruptive. And I think a lot of users have come to dislike that. And for your small business, you don't want to put yourself in a place where people turn off when you do all of this work. I mean, you have limited time to do the business of business. So why would you waste time with people who don't really want to see what you have to offer? And quite honestly, I think it leaves a bad taste in someone's mouth when they feel like you're just, pushing marketing in front of them without really having them in mind. So what Google Plus does is it says, no, you can only converse with them once they've agreed to follow you. And now you can engage in this bilateral communication about things that are of great importance to them, that are of real value to them. It makes you have to do a little bit more work, a little bit more thinking, but I don't think that hurts anybody in the world. I think that will help reduce a lot of the noise and filter a lot of the sort of chatter, as we call it online, that really hurts a lot of people's desire to actually use social networking services, because people think I'm gonna get so much time sucked out of my day just trying to do those things. So for you as a small business owner, you can realize that once you go onto Google Plus, you can go ahead and spend the little bit of time it takes to affect the most people that are most interested in you without having to spend hours and hours of your day trying to figure out who's out there and what needs to be done. You can really, with surgical, precision, locate your customer audience, engage with them, and move on. Okay. So, second is engaging regularly with your folks. So once you've found the people and topics that are important to your business through the keyword phrase analysis, you go ahead and engage with them. So, for example, I typed in Maserati. I'm on a Maserati kick today. I'm going to type in Maserati. It's done a search for me, and I can go ahead and save this search by clicking this button. And now every time I want to go ahead and do another search, it will allow me to go ahead and find that saved search from somewhere in here. I don't know where it is right now, but we can find it later. So anyway, so I typed in Maserati. You can see all the conversations about Maserati. So if I sold Maseratis and I saw someone in here who had an interest in buying Maseratis, I could go in here and respond to that person and give them more information, let them know about visiting my website and learning about those things. Again, I'm logged in here as my personal profile, so I can do that directly with people. And if I'm comfortable with doing that, I can. Once I created the brand page, again, you're limited to only getting those people who follow you out to communicate with you. But you can also then go out there and comment on other brand pages without limitation. Okay? So that's searching and then engaging regularly. Feel free to add to the conversation. You add to the conversation through this little share area. When I click in this field, it creates a new open window, and I'm capable of sharing a couple of different types of things, very similar to Facebook, I guess, here. But unlike Facebook, I can have up to 100,000 characters, I think, in these particular posts. So you're capable of writing full-length blog posts within this field. So you have a lot of space to write. So you can write a lot of text. And again, you're writing directly onto something that has google.com in its URL. So you cannot tell me that that's not going to benefit you when your small business has keywords that are rich and associated with your brand, where you're putting out great keyword-rich content into Google's search index. Okay, so make sure that you're going out there and putting good information out there. That doesn't mean you have to fill every post with 100,000 characters, but you are allowed to do it. Okay? You can add photos, video, YouTube clips, and so forth. You can create new events directly through Google Plus Events, which I'll talk about later, and we can add links to particular items that you're referencing to. The really cool part about sharing is that you can share to one person, groups of people, and to the public. Okay? So here, when you share something, you have what's called your circles, which means all of the people that you've went ahead and culled into the same group or category, and public, which is the one where you can broadcast that to anyone who might be searching the Google Plus network or online through google.com. They could potentially find your comments that way. And then extended circles, which means friends of friends. Okay, so if you've got a person who circled, that person who circled them as well may be able to see that comment as well. And then you have the various specific circles, so you can circle particular people within your life, and you can share those specifically. Okay, so you can share them with people, with those folks. And if the person's not on Google Plus, you can easily go ahead and add them to the share field here, and not worry about them not getting the message. So, for instance, I could go ahead in here and type my email address, and you can see that it automatically adds my email as a contact. And so whatever I share in this field will automatically be sent as an email to me, letting me know what I posted here. So you're not limited to not letting your customer base know about what you're posting on Google+. I think it's a really sort of cool way to introduce your customer base to where you're building community on Google+ by adding their email addresses here and just letting them know. Again, you're not doing anything other than just like sending an email to them. So as long as you're not spamming them, you have permission to email them, then you can go ahead and add them here and post. I wouldn't do it too often because I think that would probably become annoying, but at least introduce them to the idea that you're building community here and you're welcoming them to come follow your brand page and so on and so forth here on Google+. Okay? So go ahead and add to the conversation. Post high-quality content, rich content like photos and videos, links to things, curate content, and post that there. And then finally, tell your community you're here, that you're building a community here on Google+. Because the most important part about community is that it doesn't matter where it happens. It's sort of like the comment, home is where the heart is. I don't care where I lay my head at night, as long as I make that space mine. I'm comfortable with it, and I'm prospering in that space. So instead of just choosing to strive, in the ecosystem by messing around with many different social networks, pick the few social networks, the absolute few that you need in order to run your small business, and only work in those. And tell your community that's where you are. Okay. Now, some big brands have to be in every social network because they have so many users in so many disparate locations. But I would imagine for most small business owners, you can pay attention to where most of your customers come from and where most of your customers end up staying engaged with you long term for repeat business, and you can just engage in those environments. And in a lot of ways, Google Plus is giving you the ability to centralize that in one particular strong company, which is Google. Okay. So
Ray, we have a quick question.
Sure.
Does the email sent show all of the content that you typed, or merely sending you back to Google Plus?
Both. So it gives you a summary at the top, so it gives you a particular amount of the content and then pulls you out to Google+. If there's any rich content, photos, videos, links, all of those links will take you out of the email. And so the pictures and the video will take you to Google+, so that you can view it. The links will take you to the direct link that they were sending you to. Okay. So those are my 4 points, really in general in terms of strategy. And now I want to get into really going through the nuts and bolts here. So I'm actually going to go ahead and log out of the system. So the 4 points are: search with focus, search for the people and topics that relate to your business, engage regularly, at least daily on the network. You cannot tell me that if you analyzed the amount of time you're spending in the day, you couldn't find 15 or 20 minutes to free up to sit down in front of Google Plus, so that you couldn't make it worthwhile for your business. You are having to change the paradigm that you can just ignore social media and ignore what's happening in the business. This is really a part of what I call web presence optimization. You have to remember that web presence and what we typically called search engine optimization once upon a time, SEO, is not enough. You have to do full web presence optimization, which is that people can find you wherever they might search. And people typically search Google products first. And so if people are searching Google first, it's very important for you to be on Google in all of those places. Now, that's not to disregard other programs and platforms, but I'm willing to put my money on Google because Google is where people search. Okay, so that means your website for search, standardized search engine optimization, but social, local, social of course being social networking, local being Google Places and Yelp and Foursquare and Gowalla and those types of location services, and then of course mobile phones, and so mobile marketing in general. Okay, so be available there. So if you don't have an account in any of the Google products, which I know there are some people out there who don't, there's a little button here to create an account. And you create a Google account from the main page. Again, you just go to plus.google.com, you fill out the form fields here, and you can go ahead and accept the terms of service and hop on the system. It takes you through the process of adding a photo and going ahead and doing some things here. Google has a couple of things that it likes to tell you about when it comes to joining Google+. One is they tout the idea of circles. Google+ was actually originally called Google Circles because it was its defining defining separation between Facebook and, sorry, one second. It's sort of defining separation or differentiation from Facebook at that point and from the other social networks. Basically what Google says about, or Google+ says about circles is that social networking is very similar to being in and around the people in your regular life, okay? So if I'm at the water cooler having a conversation with some work colleagues, my mother isn't there, and therefore my mother doesn't hear the conversation that we've had. And while I love my mother, I don't want her to hear that conversation. And likewise, if I were having a conversation with my mother on the phone at home, I wouldn't expect my colleagues by the water cooler to automatically know that information. Doesn't that seem logical? So why would you, on Facebook, post everything to everybody all the time and be connected to everyone in the same way? I'm not friends with my mother. You know, some people are friends with their parents, but I'm not. She's my mom, and that's our relationship. I'm her son, she's my mother. And with my work colleagues, they are my work colleagues, and they're not my friends. I don't tend to really mix that world. Some people do, some people don't. My customers are typically not my friends. You know, I might have a collegial relationship with them. I may have a very strong relationship with them. They're still not my friends. And using that word in and of itself creates a weird dynamic, I think, for a lot of people. You know, there was a recent study about the word like and how, you know, at one point it became somewhat of a regularly used word in the American vernacular. And then Facebook took over the word by adding it in as a verb for every interaction you do with comments and with Facebook pages and everything else, and how it's actually morphed this word into something that has even less meaning to us. We don't see the word like the same way anymore. And how does that change not only our language, but our perception of brands? You know, just because I like a brand doesn't really mean I like a brand. If you think about it, you've liked many brands on Facebook, if you use Facebook, but really, do you like them? No, you're just following them. But we don't say that you follow a Facebook page, we say you like it. And how does that represent yourself when it comes to, you know, you are who you belong, you know, who you sort of involve in your life, and it's really about that sort of concept. Anyway, so Google says we have circles. Circles is a one-way communication realm. Basically, if I connect with someone, I connect with them in a way that I've decided. So I can have a circle called friends, and I can add people to my friend circle. So I'm going to add myself because, you know, I can do that. So here goes myself, and I can go ahead and type my name in, and it finds me in the Google Plus network already. And I can go ahead and add myself as a friend, a family member, an acquaintance, and following. To be a little bit sci-fi, I'm going to click family here, and I'm going to go ahead and click save. So here we go, and I've now added myself in the family section. If I were already shown here in this listing from another type of search criteria, you know, I can import contacts from other databases, so you can go ahead and do that through the system. And I can go ahead and drag this to one circle. I can go ahead and drag this to another circle. And so I can be in multiple circles because for the folks who, like for my sister and I are very close, my youngest sister and I, and she and I would fit into both friend category and family, because things that I would like to share with her as a friend, don't always fall into the family category, and vice versa. So I can go ahead and add myself to multiple categories, and in order to remove myself, I just click on myself. So I can just go ahead and, I can just go ahead in and drag myself out of it, and you can see a little red trash can appears, and poof, I disappear from the circle. Okay, so you can add and remove people to as many circles. Google Plus creates these 4 initial circles. These are for people who are just following you and you have no reason to identify them personally, so you can just add them to the following area, and then you have these other 3 categories: friends, families, and acquaintances. I have many, many more categories in mine. I have ones for business, business contacts generally, for ones who are referral partners, what I call trusted referral partners, TRPs, and my trusted referral partners go into those circles additionally from just the business category, so that if I know there's something that I would like my trusted referral partners to know about, so that they can go ahead and know what's going on in my world in the event that they find a customer that they would like to refer me to, they have something to talk about, so that they're staying on top of those things. I have my potential customers and clients. I have my former customers and clients. I have my current customers and clients as different circles, so that I'm capable of adjusting what I'm saying to them, so that when I'm posting something on Google+, I'm being very, very specific about who gets what, so that I'm not cluttering their feed with information that they don't want. I'm giving very customized information. Okay, so Google Circles is the primary point here. You can feel free to ask questions once we get to the question and answer section, but let me just get through some of these other features before we move on. So those are the circles. Jumping back to the top, this is what's called the stream, okay? And the stream is basically where things that are posted on Google Plus show up in your view, okay? So you can scroll down. You can see here, Richard Branson just celebrated a birthday. Right? You can see showing up in Google Plus here, but you can see that as you scroll down the feed, you can see some podcasts that I've done recently, and some other people that I'm following. There goes Mr. Bean, there goes Roan Atkinson, and some other items. So you can see all the various things that are being posted on Google Plus as they show up in your stream. You don't have to actually do anything in order for the stream to refresh itself. So the stream will naturally and automatically start to refresh itself and put new things into the feed. So you just watch the feed and it'll start to repopulate itself as you go along. You can go ahead and stop that from happening, but in general, you just basically watch these things happening. The coolest part about what you can do in Google Plus that you can't do really in other networks is you can, if you just drop down here, there's a very grayed out circle with an upside down triangle in there, an equilateral triangle. So you can see here you can link to this post. So if you click on this, it gives you a link here that takes you directly to this post if you wanted to share that with someone. So you can go ahead and pull this link and share that directly with people. Next, if you drop down, you can report abuse. So if someone is posting something that they're not supposed to be, you can go ahead and do that. Use that obviously judiciously, because you make sure that they are actually doing something wrong. You can mute a post. So say that this post here, in this case, there's 37 comments and they're just going and going and going. And if you add a comment here, so if I scroll down here and add a comment and then click post, once I do that, all the other comments that are basically going back and forth on this particular comment string will automatically appear in my Google Plus world, which is right up here, this little box here. It'll basically show everything that's happening on Google Plus with me. Well, I might not want to hear every conversation. I just wanted to add to the conversation and exit myself. I can mute that post so it doesn't keep showing up again in my feed. Okay, so you can do that. Now, this is the cool part. So viewing ripples. If I click View Ripples, here is a picture of Richard Branson's post. Okay, there goes Richard Branson. And what this is doing is showing me a pictographic representation of how far this message moved as this little it's not really a Venn diagram, but it's really this. It shows ripples in a pond, basically, throwing little stones in the pond and seeing where they might go. So this is the largest view, but as we start to zoom in, we can start to see specific people and where their messages go. We can actually see the actual people who shared, what they're all about, and why they're all about it. So you can actually do a lot of really important analysis of where items have gone from the ripple concept, okay? So here goes all the people who have publicly shared this item and what they're all about. We can scroll down and we can see over time how people did that. So we can go ahead and click the play button here. And as you can see, the image above is populating in chronological order. So you can see how quickly and when people are actually sharing content. This can be really valuable to you when you're starting to post content on Google+, and you're trying to figure out, what's going on, who's posting when, who's on the network when. You can actually track your customers and see who's on when and who's sharing the most content about you all through the Ripples concept. You can see the basic influencers. In this case, Richard Branson is the most influential in this conversation because he's Richard Branson. And then Darren McClure is the next most influential. And then you can see statistics about this particular item. It shows you the average chain length, the longest chain, and the number of shares per hour. In this case, he's gotten 26 shares, which gives it about 12 shares per hour, okay, because it's only been posted since 8:30 this morning. It tells you the languages that are being posted within, and you can analyze whether or not you have an audience in other languages. So lots of really great information through the Ripples concept. I think this took me out to a new screen. So that's Ripples, really cool concept. Okay, so a couple other things. We have Hangouts. Hangouts is this huge product, but Hangouts basically, you click on this button here, and without any infrastructure whatsoever, you can have a video-based conversation, very similar to Skype, with anyone else on Google+. So you can go ahead and invite people into a video conversation. So here you can see me down on the right-hand side. I'm in the very bottom of the screen. You should be able to see a small little image of me. See, I'm waving to you. And you can see that I can add people in my circles to this particular Hangout, and I can go ahead and do any number of things. I can add Google Docs and share video. I can edit pictures together with folks. I can do all sorts of really cool stuff. Think about Hangouts as being Skype on steroids because you have this really great ability for you to ad hoc share people, multiple people, up to 9 people plus yourself, so 10 people all told, can be in the video conversation live at once. So you can have up to 9 of your customers, 9 of your staff, 9 of your business colleagues, networking, sharing, and collaborating all in the same video space, and then as many more people can join in the text-based conversation. So even if beyond the 9 you still have more people who want to join the Hangout, you can go ahead and have more people join the Hangout in the audio and text versions. Okay, so they can join in and do that audio and text-based. So really, really powerful tool. And mobile Hangouts is supported on the Android platform. So if you have an Android-based device, you can join into the mobile Hangout tool, which means you can host a Hangout directly from your mobile phone, video connect with all of your friends, family, business contacts, customers, whatever, and that's really cool. Hangouts has another tool which is really awesome. You can go ahead and use Hangouts on Air. Hangouts on Air automatically records your use of Hangouts and pushes that video to YouTube, so it records it for later retrieval. Okay, so you can go ahead and record these things if you're doing a webinar demonstration or something else like that. You can go ahead and do that. There's a whole bunch of other features within Google+, but understand there's a ton of Google+ mobile features that you can play with. There's the Creative Kit, which is part of the picture-based tools that Google has. Creative Kit allows you to be able to modify and edit photographs within the Google+ photo albums. And the Creative Kit is actually in all of the Google Photo products, so it's available in all of them. But I want to get to a couple of things. One is the newest parts of Google+, which are Google+ Local. You can see down here what was once Google Places is now Google+ Local. So again, for those people telling me that Google+ is not going to be successful, well, they're wrong, because Google Places is very successful, and now Google Plus owns Google Places. They basically pulled it right in and underneath the Google Plus brand, and you bet it's going to become a very, very strong part of that. Google purchased Zagat, and Zagat is now a part of Google Plus Local, so it gives all the recommendations and parts of their online tools directly right within the Google Plus network. And then jumping up to Google's newest tool called Google Plus Events, they have basically taken Evite and Facebook events and a couple of other things, and they've just mashed it all together. Okay, so the wonderful thing about Google Plus Events is really the beauty and ease with which you can do things. So one, everyone can create events. Anyone, even if they're not on Google Plus, can RSVP, so you don't have to be on Google Plus if you're an attendee. But if you want to go ahead and share photos about the event and share comments and information about that, you become a part of the Google Plus network, and you can go ahead and do that. So everyone can share all of their photos in one place as they're enjoying their event, or after the event, or even before the event as they're planning and leading up to the event. Think about that as it relates to your own small business. Think about how you can host events using the Google Plus event tool and get your customers to take pictures of things that they'd like to see at the event, take pictures of things that they are doing in their day-to-day life in anticipation of that particular event. Whatever it might be, them posting content is really important because it helps you learn about them in ways in which you couldn't possibly imagine. Second is that it's automatically built and uses the Google Calendar tool for being able to push events so that people can either download the ICS file, which is the specific calendar file, within iCal or Microsoft Outlook or whatever. If a person uses the Google Calendar tool already, it automatically puts the event in their calendar. So they get an event, they say yes, they don't have to do anything, it's already in their Google Calendar. So if you use Google Calendar, this ends up being a very efficient tool for you. And so Google Plus Events is a really great tool. They're beautiful invitations. These images are animated GIFs, but in a way in which you've probably never seen GIFs used. Little things move in the pictures. It's just a very beautiful interface. So here, I'm going to go over just these other areas. They're nothing that, if you have questions about them, you can go ahead and do that. You have the profile. The only issues about the profile is that you have a cover photo. This is about 940 by 100 and odd pixels, so you want to be able to put a high-resolution photo in this cover photo. You just click on it to change it. You have your own profile photo, which you go ahead and put in there as well. You can complete the sections of the profile, no different than any other social network. You have an area for photos, an area for videos. Google Plus has plus ones. This is not to be confused with plus ones that you plus one around the web. Things that you plus one on Google Plus stay on Google Plus. So they don't get broadcasted to anyone more than the people that you interacted with on Google Plus. If you plus one something that was public, a public post, that will show up everywhere on the web. But if you plus one something that was in a private conversation, that stays on Google Plus. When you're on the web and you click that plus one button in any Google search result page, if you see a results page and you click on one of those plus ones, they will also show up within Google Plus as well. Okay, so that's your profile, just in short. Explore is for finding other things. Don't use that if you're a small business owner. Remember, focus. Explore is like going down a rabbit hole. I don't like that. I don't like that tab. So if you have nothing better to do with your time on your personal time, go ahead and play with Explore. Photos allows you to be able to go ahead and add photos. You can add photos from photo albums within your Google Photo Albums area. You can add photos from your desktop. You can, of course, share those photos from this area, and you can upload them through your mobile devices. Both they have a Google Android application and the iOS devices, so the iPhone, the iPad, the iPod Touch. Circles, we've talked about that. Google Plus Local. Games, we can skip that altogether. You have your Hangouts, but of course, when you're in your main home feed, the Hangout button, as I showed you before, appears right here on the top right-hand corner. Okay, but if we click on More, we can go ahead and over to Pages in a moment. But notice that More is sort of at the very bottom here, and as I just told you, I don't really care about games, so I just dragged Games down to More. I'm going to do that again. You can see that Games was here, and I'm just going to drag Games down to More, and More disappeared and Hangouts jumped up there. Now, Pages are way more important to me in my life, so I'm going to take Pages, and I'm going to drag it right up to the top here so that it appears right below my home page. Okay, so you can move that little set of items there. You can see I can take Explore, and I can throw Explore down here. Explore is not important to me, so you can shuffle these things so that you can see what's most important to you. So I'm going to put Home, Circles, Pages, and then everything else. Okay, so you can shuffle these to be what you want it to. All right, I'm going to click on Pages, and you can see I have no pages. Oh my gosh, what do? I go ahead and create a new page. All right, so big red button, create a new page. This is where you're going to establish your brand's presence, okay? And so it gives me an option to go ahead and choose to pick a category. A local business, it gives me the examples of hotels, restaurants, places, stores, services, a product or brand. That could be apparel, cars, electronics, financial services. It says company or institutions. That's pretty de facto. And then there's an arts, entertainment, or sports. So if you're an arts person, if you're an entertainer or sports figure, you can go ahead and use that. Or if you're an author, you can go ahead and put up an author page, something that I should think about myself. And then other, a category that doesn't fit into any other category. But for all of you, if you cannot categorize yourself, then you should go schedule an appointment with your local SBDC and really talk to a counselor about that. So don't use that category. All right, so I'm going to choose a local business place. All right, it asks me to type in a specific phone number, and it's probably going to reject me because it's going to say, we already have this phone number. Let's see if it doesn't attempt to. Not found. All right, here we go. So it says, finally confirm your info. I'm going to go ahead and type in some basic information about the company, Sum Street in, say, Arlington, Virginia. And it's going to try and, find me. You can go ahead and choose a category. And then it says, your page will be publicly visible. Is the content appropriate for any number of users? So it gives you any Google Plus user, users 18 or older, users 21 and older, and alcohol related. So it gives basically people of alcohol, age of alcohol ability to go ahead and access that. Google Plus is open from people who are 13 years or older. So again, if you have specific requirements, if you're a drinking establishment or something like that, then you want to make sure that you are abiding by the visibility rules, okay, of your jurisdiction. I'm not proposing that you have any, but so then it says, yes, keep me informed of future pages, releases, and other relevant information. I would say yes to that checkbox because that's going to have Google Plus notify you about new improvements to the Pages tool, and new ones are coming up all the time. You're not going to get an inundation of email, but when they do send you an email, they are fairly important. They're telling you about really new, fascinating stuff that they're doing with the system. So like Google Plus Local, when Google Places was replaced by Google Plus Local on May 30th, most people didn't really know that happened. They wouldn't have noticed until they started getting pushed to Google Plus in order to be able to leave a review. You as a small business owner wouldn't have known that at all because you would still be interacting on Google Places. So you should get the emails. Okay, you can accept the page terms. Of course, I would go ahead and click on this link and read the page terms, but some people want to, some people don't. I recommend you do. So here we go. It's going to go ahead and create a page. And then similarly to any other profile, you're going to fill out the portions. You're going to fill out the photo. You're going to fill in the About Us page. You're going to go ahead and fill in all of those pieces. You can see this black bar is going to show up across the top of your page whenever you go to a new page outside of your own profile, so that you know that you're posting now and you're interacting as your Google Plus page. Notice the silhouette that was of a little human being, a head and shoulders, is now the pages. It looks like a little gift box with a bow tie. That's now appearing to tell you that you're in the Plus page area, not within the Plus profile area, your Google Plus personal profile. You're in your Pages public profile, okay? So you can go ahead and let the world know. So you can go ahead and tell your circles from your personal page. You can add email addresses for all of your clients and let them know you're on Google Plus right here. So you can add a comment and then go ahead in here and add email addresses. So you can, tell your customers at, your small business and let them all know that you are on Google Plus, okay? So share that and let them know. And once you're there, you're now showing the profile for Google Plus. you can actually view the page as a profile, as someone who's viewing the profile would be able to see it. In this case, anyone would be able to see this profile because it's a public profile. But if I limit it in some way, shape, or form, so if I had a child who was underage and I chose the selection that they shouldn't be able to, and I typed in that person's name, they shouldn't be able to see the profile at all. So a couple of things about the profile. You have, of course, the posts that show up that you have posted. Next, you have your you want to complete your profile as Google tells you to. You can go ahead and change your identity at any time by going ahead and clicking down and switching between your Google Plus page, or if you have multiple pages, and your own personal profile. What happens when I click on my personal profile is that it's actually going to open up a new tab. So I have two new tabs. I'm sorry, I have one new tab. I have two tabs now, and it's opening up my personal tab in a new tab so that I don't confuse the two of them. So here I am in that. It tells me to go ahead and change my cover photo. I can upload new photos to this particular Plus Pages album, and I can also add videos. Okay, so as a small business owner, if I had a local business where I was trying to really make a splash on Google Plus, I would make sure that I added at least one video of myself, or at least a moving images of me introducing my business and what we have to offer. Nothing more than 3 minutes, 1 to 3 minute video just introducing my business. Some pictures of my retail space. If I have a retail space, I want to go ahead and add some photos here because this is going to be connected to my Google Plus local page as well. Remember, if you're a local business, it's going to connect to you right here on Google Maps. Okay. Here in the About Us page, you want that to be content-rich. You want to go ahead and make sure that you fill in the fields that are important. It gives you the ability to do a little introduction. It gives you the ability to enter your hours of operation, your website, which automatically connects your website on Google. So Google.com immediately knows that this Google Plus page is associated with your website. Does that not make sense? If Google is what owns the web, you want to make sure, and I say that in jest, of course, but I mean, I'm sort of serious in terms of the practicality of it, but Google indexes the web better than anyone else, and that's where people go to search. Wouldn't you want a product that says plus.google.com to have your website address associated with this Plus page? Of course. So make sure that your primary website is connected. Links to pages that interest you. This is really about, networking, so other links that are important to you might be other resources that are important to your business or industry and therefore important to your customers. Okay, so go ahead and fill out these particular items there and you'll be good to go. Okay, so at that point you can now go to Home, and notice we're still as the page, and we can start to go ahead and do what I talked about earlier, which is search with focus the people and places that are the movers and shakers that make a difference in your world. Engage regularly with those topics and people. Add to the conversation yourself by posting content here through the Share What's New area, and then tell your community you're here on Google+. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tracy, and we can take questions.
Great, thanks, Ray. We have a few here. If you create a Google Plus page for your business, will that automatically put you in Google Places?
So Google Plus will ask you if you are already on Google Places. If you are not, and you're eligible for a Google Plus local page, Google Places page, it will go ahead and take you through the process of creating it. So yes.
Okay. Can you post both? When you post, can you post both to your personal and business at the same time? You there, Ray? I guess we lost audio for Ray again. You back? Ray, we're not hearing you. All right, everyone, let's give Ray a few seconds, see if he can get his audio back on. I see his mouse, so he's moving around. He's in. All right, everyone, he just let me know he's trying to get back in, so let's give him a few minutes. All right, I hear him
All right.
again.
Wonderful. The little gremlins on the telephone lines are fighting me. All right, so question.
So the question is, when you post, can you post both to your personal page and business page at the same time?
No, you can't.
Okay. How is Google Plus different from LinkedIn, and what advantages does Google Plus have over it?
Google Plus and LinkedIn are just completely different animals. LinkedIn is about sharing and communicating with business contacts and colleagues, really as it relates to your business or industry within the established communities that are already there, okay? Now, some of those people might be on Google Plus or otherwise, but LinkedIn is really in the market to help you find employees and to find new business in terms of business to business more than business to consumer world. So I'm not saying that you should jump ship from LinkedIn and go to Google Plus. I'm saying dip your toe in the water into Google Plus and start out with number one, search with focus. Find the people and topics that are on Google Plus and consistently keep looking. Because at the moment when the tide shifts, when Facebook loses popularity and or LinkedIn loses popularity, it's a possibility. I think they're going strong, and I like their price to earnings ratios. I like the way in which they're managing the company. They're making great money, so they're going to be around a while. But at the moment the tide shifts, you want to make sure that you're following the conversations and you're in the know in either market. So I say that if you have a market that's already interacting and engaging on LinkedIn, you should just pay attention. So that search with focus means maybe you're not going to Google Plus every day while the conversations are not as hot and piping, but the moment that tide changes, you should be logging on and regularly engaging there as well.
Okay. Ray, can you reiterate what the four things you went over at the beginning were?
Sure. Yeah, so you want to search with focus. So start at the very top here. You want to go ahead and type in the people and topics that are important to your business. So if you know people and organizations, if you wanted to add it there, but I sort of use that under the same umbrella, but people and organizations. So if I was a farmer, I would want to pay attention to what was happening at the USDA. So I would go ahead and type in USDA and see what they were saying, or the agricultural departments, work with with particular farms and other agribusiness. Okay, so search with focus. The second is to engage regularly, which is that you should be engaging in those conversations on as regular a basis as you can. You want to, if you're not providing information, you're not the subject matter expert, if you're not the thought leader as it relates to the conversations that are happening out there on the web, then you don't exist. Okay, this is as simple as that. 3 is to add to the conversation. You have to add material to Google+. You add that material by going ahead down one to the share field and sharing new content. So create new content and share new content regularly. Add to the conversation. And 4, tell your community that you're there. Because if you're sharing content and there's nobody there to listen, did anyone hear it? So go ahead and tell your community that you're there on a regular basis so that they know that you've invested in Google+, and to bring them onto Google+, so that they can engage with you there as well.
Great, thanks, Ray. Well, we don't have any more questions, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I want to thank everybody for participating today. Just a few housekeeping items. Today's webinar was recorded and it'll be posted on the Virginia SBDC websites. Tomorrow you'll be receiving a follow-up email on this webinar, and there'll be an evaluation link in the email. Please fill it out. and help us improve our webinar series. If you want to fill it out now, I've posted it in the chat window, so you can go ahead and type that in and fill out the evaluation. I wanted to thank Ray for presenting today, and we'll see you all on August 16th for our next webinar, Google Docs Documents. So thanks, everyone.